Okay, now I'm recording. In this case, we are talking about money, okay? So because we're talking about money, we're talking about two decimal places, right? Dollars and cents. This one, we're going to round up to the nearest penny, right? Round it up to the nearest penny. So this is actually going to be 11 cents per egg, okay? So we always round up to the nearest penny. The only time we leave it alone exactly is when we have exactly two decimal places. Okay? Any other time, even if my answer was 0.10000004, I would still round it up to 11 cents because we're talking about money. We want to round up to the nearest penny at all times. Okay? So we're going to round that up to the nearest penny, no matter what. All right, let me get my eraser. Okay, so now that we have 11 cents per egg, we can multiply by the two eggs. And my answer is 22 cents. So that is the cost of my ingredient of two eggs, right? Because one egg costs 11 cents. I need two eggs for my recipe. That's 22 cents. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns about this? What's the next ingredient? Hash browns. Let's do hash browns. I also like to then change my color so that I can keep it separated. Okay. My hash browns. An order of hash browns is half of a potato, so that's my recipe. So a half of a potato. And a 50 case count of potatoes is $47. So $47 per 50 potatoes. Do my units match?
No. Oh, yeah.
They do. They're potatoes, right? Our units match. So now we have to get down to the cost of one unit. We have the cost of 50 potatoes, but how much does one potato cost? Okay, so how do we figure that out?
Fine.
You have to divide by 50 potatoes. So 47 divided by 50. You see how it's exactly 94 cents? We keep it. We don't have to round it or anything like that. It's exactly 94 cents per potato. And now let's figure out what the cost is for a half. So how do we do that?
Like 94 by half.
We can divide that by 2. So 47 cents is our cost for our hash browns. Okay, so let's see. I'm going to go up here. I'm going to do eggs are 22 cents. Hash browns, 47 cents. Okay, next is toast. Our toast. Our toast is 2 slices and a loaf of bread is 24 slices of $1.86. So let's get a new color going. Toast. Pizza recipe. 2 slices. What did I say? $1.86 for 24 slices. Yep, okay. Do my units match?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, awesome. So now we're gonna get down to the cost of one slice, just one slice. That's all we got. That's all we need. The cost of. So $1.86 divided by 24.
8 cents.
is going to be 8 cents per slice. See how that goes? My calculator is 0.0775. So I'm going to round up to that nearest penny. That second decimal goes up 1. So now we multiply by 2 slices. And we get 16 cents. So my toast is 16 cents. Goodness. There we go. Okay. So the last 2 things is our bacon and our sausage. Okay. So bacon, AP to recipe, 2 slices, and our as purchased for bacon is $3.85 per pound, where 1 pound is 12 strips. So $3.85 per 1 pound. Do my units match pounds and slices? No. But up at the top, you can't see it, but up at the top, it says 1 pound is equal to 12 slices. So I can divide this by 12 slices. $3.85 divided by 12 is what?
33 cents.
33 cents. See that? Even though I know it's a 0, and even though I know that normal rounding rules says if it's 4 or below, you leave it alone, right? But we're talking about money. So this is 33 cents. So that's equal to 33 cents per slice. And we're going to multiply that by 2 to get 66 cents as the cost of our bacon. Okay, and then let's do sausage. Sausage is 20 links per pound at $2.85 per pound. $2.85 per pound. We're going to the recipe of 2 links. So we divide that by 20 links. That's what our recipe conversion says. Oops, there's no E in there. 20 links. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. 285 divided by 20. It becomes what? 15 cents per link. And then we multiply by 2 to get 30 cents. Okay. Questions, comments, concerns so far?
No, sir.
All right, so help me out. We have eggs, toast, hash browns. Okay, eggs were what, 22 cents?
Yes.
Toast was
47.
47.
Oh, it's 4 cents.
The toast?
Oh, my bad. Yeah,
16.
16.
Oh, okay, yeah, I was like 6.
Sorry, I have it out of order. The hash browns were 47. Okay, so if I add all that together, what do I get?
85.
Yep. 85 cents. Okay, the reason why I do this is because those are the 3 same things on both plates. Right? So if I'm using my calculator, it's easier to just go and calculate that once. And then now let's go ahead and add that 85 cents and 85 cents. We have bacon and sausage. So bacon was 66 cents, right? So $1.51 to make my breakfast plate with bacon. And it was 30 cents with sausage. So that is $1.15. Okay. So that's how we cost out all the ingredients that go into our standard recipe. Okay, we go from the as purchased amount, the big amount, we have to get it down to the cost of one, and then multiply that by the recipe amount that we need. Okay, the units must match in order to make this work. So when you're costing out your recipe to how much to sell it for, which one of these two would you use as the cost price for your recipe to sell it, to figure out how much you're going to sell it for? Why the bacon? It costs more, right?
More profit.
So I'm sorry.
I said more profit.
Yeah, so we're gonna use the bacon one to figure out how much we're gonna sell it for. So then that way we make sure our costs are covered. But then every time we sell a sausage plate, we're gonna make just a little bit more profit, about what, 30 something cents more per sausage plate. Because we're selling it for the same price. It's $6.75, right? It's the same price. We're not worried about changing the price based on the protein. And so we want to use that higher protein cost. Okay. Now, if it is like significantly more expensive, right? So think about barbecue. Brisket is probably much more expensive than chicken and sausage, right? So in that case, you might have a price for the different meat plates, but they may get to choose their sides. And so you probably going to want to figure out the most expensive side, like mac and cheese. That's really heavy on that dairy products compared to green beans or coleslaw. It doesn't cost that much, right? And so as you're developing your menu, it's important to take into consideration how much each of these things costs to make sure your costs are all covered. Okay? Questions, comments, concerns about this? All right. I'm going to go ahead and print this. So this is what it'll look like on our notes page when I upload it. Okay. I'm going to save this as stay. Yeah. Okay. Cool. All right. So I'm going to take a moment to stop talking and rest my voice. Y'all are going to have an opportunity to cost out some recipes. So those of you who are online, I'm going to go ahead and zoom in so you can see this. There we go. So y'all can start working. You can answer you can type your answer in the chat for your final cost of one cupcake. And then the bottom question is, if we sell 30 cupcakes, what is our food cost percentage? I'm going to give each one of y'all a copy that you can write on in here in class. When you are done, bring it up to me so I can check your work. If you are right, then you get a cupcake. If you are wrong, you can go back and make corrections until you're right and get a cupcake. All right, so I have all the as purchased information is at the top. Okay. I have the standard recipe of one cupcake, one paper, 2 ounces of frosting, and one portion of sprinkles. That's the standardized recipe. I want you to show your work on this section. And then when you're done, bring it up to me so I can check. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording. Okay. When we start with the next math section, I need someone to remind me to start recording the deck. Please. So if I take 66 cents for each cupcake and I sell 30 of them, what is my total amount that I cost for selling 30 cupcakes?
1980.
$19.80. Okay. That's my cost. Now, when I put into my triangle, cost percent sales, and I'm looking for my cost percentage, I divide that by how much I sell it for. What looks weird about this formula?
Your cost is more than your sale.
It costs us more to make it than we're selling it for. Okay. So we get 1.2, move that decimal place over 2, and we have 120% food cost. That means it costs us 20% more to make it than what we're actually selling it for and bringing money in. Is that a good thing or a bad thing?
Bad.
Okay. It's probably not a great thing. These cupcakes, they're actually $16 and I think 40 something cents. Okay, for 30 cupcakes. I get them at Sam's. Okay. They're actually a pretty decent cupcake. And I don't know how much it costs Sam's to make them. I would assume that they come in as frozen cupcakes and then they just pipe the frosting on it. Okay. And the sprinkles. So maybe it does cost them $20 to make it. They're selling it for $16.50. This is what we call in the industry. Oops, I have to be on the page. A loss leader. A loss leader. Let me make that look a little bit better. I'm gonna sell these cupcakes for $16, $17 because chances are what? Are you coming into Sam's just for cupcakes?
No.
No, those carts are not small. Okay. You're going to be buying the plates for the party. You might be buying the meat for the party. You might be buying everything else for the party, right? And the cupcakes are a good deal. Same thing with their rotisserie chickens, right? It's a good deal for that rotisserie chicken, but chances are you're not just walking there for a rotisserie chicken and walking out. Okay. So yeah, they may take a hit on those ingredients, on those particular items, but if it brings people in and they buy more on everything else, then that's where you're going to be making that money up. Okay. So that's what we call a loss leader. They're intentionally selling it at a loss, knowing that people are going to come in and buy other things that will bring it up. Yeah. There was somebody, I don't remember who said it. Let me find it because I was a good question. It was a good comment. Oh, yeah, Leanna. You mentioned that HEB has a whole section of like what's basically bulk items. So you can buy nuts, dried fruit, trail mixes in bulk, and then you just print it out like you do in the produce system. Put the number in, it'll print out a tag. So good. They have these amazing almonds that are like Mediterranean herbs. Oh my gosh, they're so addictive. So good. And then you don't have to buy like a huge box. You just buy just what you're gonna eat, so you don't waste as much. Toasted pecans, awesome, cool. Okay, last thing we're gonna talk about today before we leave. And I'm gonna need a moment to get logged in. All right, so this assignment is kind of combining a little bit about that as purchased edible portion. Okay, and so I intentionally gave you a lot of space between the numbers. Okay, and what I want you to do is I want you to draw an imaginary line, kind of divide that space into two places, into two spots, right? On the top portion of that line, the top portion of that segment, we're going to write the formulas. We're going to write the words, okay? Because for whatever reason, when you guys turn off your Zoom or when you walk out that door, there's this magical force field that makes you forget everything we talked about while we're in class, okay? And so by writing out the formulas, writing out everything in words, it allows you to remember and go back. In your chapter 3 quiz, the last part of your chapter 3 quiz is going to be a problem just like this, but with different numbers. Okay, so that way you'll have the formulas to go back and plug things in. Number 1 is how many portions are in a 12-pound brisket. So our formula, I want you to write this out. The weight times the yield factor percentage is equal to our edible portion in pounds. Okay, I'm going to read this out for you, so just in case you have any questions on what something is. So weight times yield factor percentage is equal to our edible portion in pounds. And then we multiply by 16 ounces, and that is equal to our edible portion in ounces. And then we divide by the serving size, and that will give us our number of servings. Okay. In my class this afternoon, I actually wrote this out. So I was writing it as I was talking. So if I need to stop and go slower, please just let me know.
What does the last part say?
It says the number of servings. So this one I forgot to do my numbers in, so I'm going to go ahead and do this. So we have a 12-pound brisket. That's our weight. 12 pounds. It comes from the question, 12 pounds. Our yield factor is 55%. So we're multiplying by 55%. When we multiply 12 times 0.55, we get 6.6 pounds. Okay. My question is, how many portions are in a 12-pound brisket? My serving size is 6 ounces. Do my units match?
No.
No, they do not, right? Ounces and pounds. That's why I have to multiply by 16 ounces first. So what is 6.6 times 16 ounces? Say it one more time.
105.6.
105.6 ounces. And now, because I'm in ounces, now I can divide by my serving size of 6 ounces. Sorry, it's a little crowded. Let me see if I can fix that. I'm sorry, what did you say? 106.5? 105.6. Then we're going to divide that by our 6-ounce serving. And that gives us 17.6 serving. So 17.6 servings is what we get. Can we round that up to 18?
Yes.
No, this is
No.
brisket. I can't make up a little bit more brisket to make up a whole 18th serving, right? So your options are to either round down to 17 and say we're going to get 17 servings out of this brisket. Or your option is to use 17.6. Because chances are you're not going to be just making one brisket. You might be making 2 briskets. Well, if you make 2 briskets, then that 0.6 and 0.6 come together to make another serving. Okay. So as you're doing your math, you can choose whichever one you want to do. Round it down to the whole number or keep it with the decimal. Whatever you do, just stick with that. Okay. Just stick with it. All right. So that's number 1. Number 2, the rest of it is all already written out for you with the formula, and then the numbers that come from the word problem up above. Okay. So, question for you all. Do y'all want me to just walk you through the numbers? I can post this on Canvas and you can have this as a tool. You could also handwrite it yourself, okay? Because there's something about writing that helps you solidify the concept, okay? But I'm just going to walk you through this just right now, and then I'll put it up, and anybody who wants to finish writing the formulas, you can, okay? So when we ask how much money in sales we should expect to bring a 12-pound brisket, we take our selling price of $16.95. We multiply it by that 17.6 servings that we got from the first answer, and it gives us $298.32. Okay. So that means when I sell all of my servings from my brisket, I should have $298.32 in my register. When you do the math for your homework, I have done the math for the whole number and the decimal number. So no matter which option you choose, like I said, stick with that option, and then it should still count your answers correct. Okay. So trying to figure out how much money we're bringing in, of course, we're just going to take our selling price times the number of servings. Simple as that. Number 3, the portion cost. There's some really long, drawn out formulas, and I'm giving you the simple one. Okay. The AP cost. How much does it cost me per pound times the weight of the brisket? Okay. That is how much it costs me to buy that brisket. And then I just divide by the number of servings I have. So if the brisket cost me $2.50, I multiply by the 12 pounds, and the brisket actually cost me $30 to buy it. Okay. I feel like I need to update these numbers because I think these were from 2016 when I started teaching.
I think it's at least like $7 a pound right now.
Okay, so $2.50 a pound times 12 pounds is $30. And then I divide by the 17.6 servings to get $1.71. You see how I round that up to $1.71? Anytime in my notes that you see this symbol, whether it's going vertical or whether it's going horizontal, that is my way of saying rounding up. So I'm going from this to that. So I'm going from $1.7045 to $1.71. That's what that symbol means. Anytime you see that in my notes, that's what that symbol means, is I'm going up to that number. All right. So then what is the food cost percentage of the 12-pound brisket? So our percentage we're looking for, so we have cost divided by sales. So I do $1.71, that's the cost of my portion, divided by what I sell my portion for. Bless you. So I divide $1.71 by $16.95. I get my decimal, round everything up, and it becomes 10.1%. 10.1%. Questions, comments, concerns about questions 1 through 4. They all kind of go and build together. 5 through 8, they're all independent of 1 through 4. So before we move on to 5 through 8, any questions about 1 through 4?
Can you run number 4 back again?
Yeah. So our food cost percentage, we're going to use our triangle, right? And so we have our cost divided by our selling price. So the answer to number 3 of $1.71, that is going to come right over here to our cost. And then if we scroll up to the top, we sell our brisket for $16.95 per portion. Okay, and so, oops. So that's where we have our selling price of $16.95. Our cost divided by our sales. Anybody else? Any other questions? 1 through 4? Good question. Just to prove to y'all that math works, this is the cost and sales of one portion, right? Cost of one portion, the sales of one portion. If we take our cost of that whole brisket, $30 of our whole brisket, and we divide by the cost and the sales of what we should bring in, guess what? This answer is also 10.1%. So that's just the cost and sales for the whole brisket compared to the cost and sales of one serving. Okay. All right, let's look at 5 through the end. This is super crucial. Okay. So I will read this. I'll read out this first one for you because it is kind of a little convoluted. Number 5 is the number of guests. Okay. Before the internet, this symbol right here used to mean the number or pound sign. I know it's a hashtag now, but it used to mean number. So the number of guests times the serving size. That is our edible portion in ounces. Our number of guests times the serving size is our edible portion in ounces. This next step is crucial because if you don't do it now, chances are you'll forget. You want to divide by the yield factor. Students often want to go ahead and get right into pounds and convert, but then they forget to apply the yield factor. So do it right now. Yield factor percentage. And that's going to give us our AP in ounces, our as purchased, how much we should buy in ounces. And then we divide by 16 to give us our as purchased in pounds. So I'm going to give you a moment to finish writing that formula, and then I'll talk you through it with numbers. I'm going to post this whole document in Canvas in the recorded lectures module. I'm going to post this document in Canvas, okay? So in this scenario, we have 250 guests times our 6-ounce portion. That gives us 1,500 ounces. We divide that by 0.55, and that gives me 2,727.27 ounces, okay? I'm not going to call up Cisco and say, hey, can you send me 2,727 ounces of brisket? Okay. We order it by the pound. That's why we have to divide by 16 to get the 170.45 pounds. So, yeah, go ahead.
The 0.55, where did we get that?
That is our yield factor right here.
Oh, from up there. Okay,
Yep,
got it.
that's our yield factor. Good question. And so that's why we divide by 16 ounces to get 170.45 pounds. Okay, so that's how much I need to purchase in order to make enough brisket for 250 people. taking into consideration my yield factor. Okay. Now let's pretend for a moment. Let's pretend that you haven't taken Mr. Uminski's class and you don't understand the importance of the yield factor. Okay. Let me show you what would happen. 250 guests times 6 ounces is equal to 1,500 ounces. And you divide that by 16 ounces. And that's 93.75 pounds. So you, as a caterer, you order 93.75 pounds of brisket to feed 250 people. And then you start cooking the brisket. And you lose 55%. So you only have 51.5 pounds of brisket to serve to 250 people. 51.5 times 16, right? That's the number of ounces divided by our 6 ounces. You only get to serve 137 people. How are you going to tell 112 people, I'm sorry, I don't have brisket for you? Because I didn't take Mr. Uminski's class and I didn't learn about yield factor percentage. Okay? Don't be that caterer that runs out of food because you know you have to apply that yield factor. You have to take into consideration that that product is going to shrink. Now, unless, what if you buy your brisket already smoked? HEB has them. They're shrink wrapped. What is the yield factor of that brisket? Probably 90% or even higher, right? You might not serve the very ends of it, but you might get like 95%. So if the quality is there, I don't know if it is or not, but if the quality is there and your guests don't mind it, that yield factor percentage, that's where you'll decide down here what that yield factor percentage is and how much you actually have to buy. Okay. So sometimes we can buy pre-made stuff that has already been processed and our yield factor is much higher. But usually what also is involved is the cost is also higher. Okay. So some things to think about. All right. So what is the total cost of the briskets for the party? So this is easy. That AP cost times the total weight. That's a super, super short one. It cost me $250. I need 170.45 pounds. You'll notice that I drew an arrow right here to show you where we get this number from. That 170 comes from right there. So it is actually going to cost me $426.13 to buy brisket for this party. And then we want to do a 10% overage. As a caterer, you often want to prepare a little bit more because sometimes people don't RSVP. They just show up. And now you have extra guests. Or if you don't have extra guests, you can feed your staff. You can feed your team. It's always a good idea. Okay. So by doing 10% more, this is where we did the 250 times the 10% to give me 25 extra guests. So now I'm going to do 275 guests. Repeat question number 5. 275 times 6, 1,650 ounces. Divide by that yield factor so we can figure out we need 3,000 ounces. Divided by 16 ounces per pound converts to 187.5 pounds. So in reality, I'm going to budget for $468.75 to make sure I account for those extra 10%. that percentage that caterers use is on a sliding scale. Okay, the bigger the party, the more reservations or the more guest count, the smaller that percentage. If you're doing a party for 1,000 people, you don't need a 10%. You don't need to prepare 100 extra servings. You might do maybe 2% and do an extra 20 something servings, right? So that percentage is on a sliding scale based on the number of guests that is the guarantee. All right, questions, comments, concerns about this brisket math? Oh, I see a chat. Hold on. Brian, for servings, we round down. Yes, because it's that whole number, correct? Yeah. Okay. So now let's look at our quiz number 3. Our chapter 3 quiz. There is a brisket math assignment. Okay. This is the document that you will use for the numbers for your quiz. And then here's another video link of me doing the brisket math again in a different way. Different, it may be the same numbers, but this video link will be for just brisket math. So you don't have to come back to the class and try to find it in the big long video. You can just go straight to the directions and find that video to help you. I don't think they knew what they were doing when they taught me how to use technology. All right, you will notice you have 10 attempts on chapter 3 quiz. 10 attempts.
You have no faith in us.
No, I have plenty of faith in you. I just want you to make the mistakes that you learn from your mistakes. Okay. After the second or third attempt, if you haven't gotten it right, come visit me during my office hours. Okay.
Okay.
So I will post this in the modules for the live recorded lectures, chapter 3. Let me show you what it will look like somewhat. What's today, Wednesday? Yeah, so that's what section 4. So in the modules for the lecture, you'll see chapter 3. And then you'll also see this is that brisket math number. That's the PDF that we're working off of right here. And then this is going to be this long document that we did about the costing out of a breakfast plate. Okay. So you'll see those 2 documents there in the recorded lectures module. All right. That is all I have for you. If any other questions before I let you guys go tonight?
Little.
No,
I
sir.
finished writing it, sorry. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. Yes.
Question about number 3. Where did you get the $30 from?
So we took the $2.50, which is up here. The AP cost of the brisket is $2.50 per pound. And we multiplied that by the 12 pounds of the brisket. So the weight of the brisket. So $2.50 times 12 pounds is $30.
Yeah. I was trying to do mental math.
Gotcha. Cool. If you don't have any questions online, you're welcome to log off.
My computer was freezing when you were showing where the questions are. Can you show me one more time? I think it's because my husband's playing the game, so it was like glitching out.
The questions from the module.
Yeah, for the quiz.
Yeah, they're in the chapter 3 in the module 3. Let me I got logged out of ACES. Let me get back in.
Keep both papers or we give them to you?
No, those are both for your notes. If you did not get a cupcake already, please come get a cupcake. Otherwise, I will eat them. I don't need all of that.
I have another question, sir, real quick.
Yeah.
You're gonna post the brisket notes, the ones that we just saw right now.
Yeah, they'll be in the recorded lectures module.
Also said they're gonna be like on the yeah.
The portion where he went over.
So Destiny in this is section 2. So in the modules Module 3 is the chapter 3 quiz. So this document right here is where you'll find the final 8 questions. And then this video is a refresher on the brisket math.
Oh, okay. I just didn't know if it was in a different module or if it was in the, sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So you're good. I'm gonna leave this back up if anybody needs it.
Have a good rest of your night.
Thank you, you as well.
Mr. Miskey, I had a question. I noticed one of the assignments